Welcome everybody to the seasonal diet, eating what our ancestors ate when they ate it like we were evolved to do. February. What are some seasonal diet, ancestral diet eating tips for February? I'm going to try and do these every single month. I'm working on a spreadsheet right here that is going to be in-season foods for each month, the whole year round, and eventually this will be available as a calendar, but I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to make that yet. So we're just working on it for now, and I'm getting some help from some good people. So February, the main key points that we're working on for February is fattening up, okay? Now there is a thing called fattening up for the winter, like you've all heard of, but really if we want to be as historically accurate as possible, we're fattening up for the spring. This is actually the time where there would be not that much food. You see, the winter, especially the start of the winter until the midwinter, from maybe October to January time, there were feasts, there were parties, there were all these holidays. Almost every few weeks we have a lot of feasts, plenty of meat, a nice fresh harvest that we just got from picking the vegetables and fruits towards the fall, and we had really plenty of food pretty much wherever you are in the world in the early to mid-winter. So we don't need to fatten up for that time, we use that time to fatten up. And right now we are actually getting to the time where we actually do need to fatten up. So we see this tradition a lot of places, especially the places that have adopted some European culture. We see all around this time things like Mardi Gras, we see things like Carnival, we see things like Fasching in Germany, and it's all like February celebrations of basically pigging out and eating and gaining weight, because where the really hard part to survive is the spring. The winter stores are running low, there's not so much to eat, and we need to make it just a few more months until things start growing again. And this is actually why we fast in the spring, right? We fast for Lent, or we stay off the meat. These are not just Christian or monotheistic traditions, guys. Humans did this for much longer before these monotheistic religions existed. So we're fasting then in order to basically preserve ourselves and not eat so much. So right now we're fattening up and preparing for this time with little food. So that means a few things. First, plenty of carbs. Now, if you've been watching, I hate the grains. I really don't like the grains, but at this time of year, I definitely eat grains. I eat the breads, I eat the oatmeals, I eat the pastas, I eat all this stuff because this has been tradition pretty much no matter where you are from, at least, and I know most of you watching are from the north of Europe, or at least have ancestry there, but I'm speaking really about all Europe and really all of the northern hemisphere. Lots of grains at this time of year because these things are the things that would be preserved well. Grains have a very long shelf life and they would be lasting all the way until February from their harvest when we did in the fall. So plenty of grains. Second, I really don't like sugar either, but if you absolutely must eat it, right now is the right time. So if you have watched the video I did on sugar, sugar has actually not been in the European diet for very long. It was brought in with the Crusaders in the 12 and 1300s, and then they spread out the powdered crystallized sugar that we know as sugar today around that time. So we really haven't had that in our diet for so long, but we had other forms of sugar. We had things like honey, so tons of honey would have been eaten right now. Of course, honey is very easy to preserve. And a lot of other things too, like syrups and jammed fruits, jarred fruits, dried fruits, things like that. So really plenty of sugar. As we get a little bit more into modern times, we had all these recipes that we cook at this time of year, like the cakes, like the donuts, like all this stuff, like the pancakes and waffles. So all these are in high season now. Like I said, we're trying to fatten up. I do not excuse sugar at any point in the year except right now. I eat a lot of sugar February time when I'm trying to fatten up, just as our ancestors would have done. But like I said, trying to stay away from the powdered sugar. I eat more jams and dried fruits and things like that. Next, the meats, okay? Pork is the main thing. If you look in all these traditional European dishes, starting from the midwinter and on, it's pork. So lots of pork, pork chops, sausages, things like that, bacon, whatever you want, lots of pork. See, the early winter, we would be having things like sheep, lamb, beef, cattle, things like that, because those animals we actually want to slaughter at the beginning of the winter because they are very high maintenance, and that we eat that until the midwinter time. So lots of red meat then. When we get to about the midwinter in January, that's when our ancestors made the transition from red meat to pork. So it'd be lots of pork, also goat and things like that, because those are also popular winter dishes. And depending on where you are, where your ancestors are from, it would be things like duck maybe, or wild birds if you have any of those in the winter. Lots of wild hunted game too, if you live in those kinds of places. And also lots of fish, especially the winter fish. A lot of them come into season this year, and things like shellfish, those are in top season in the midwinter right about now. So we're looking at mostly pork and shellfish as for the meats at this time of year. As for vegetables, no, there really are no fresh vegetables growing around this time of year. Now in the modern day, when we can import foods from halfway around the world, this is possible to eat vegetables, but our ancestors just would not have had access to this. It would depend, again, where your ancestors are from. In the north of Europe, absolutely not. In the south of Europe, yeah, there are some winter vegetables, things like that. But in general, they would not have been eating many vegetables unless they were pickled or preserved in some way. Same thing with the fruits. There are some winter fruits growing, like citrus, the oranges and lemons and things like that. They are in season around this type of a year, but if you're all the way in the north of Europe, that's where your ancestors are from, they have never seen an orange before besides a few hundred years ago. So in the north of Europe, they really did not have access to any fresh fruits, maybe some winter berries, which I did a video on as well. But as for fruits, we're also looking for the preserved fruits, the dried fruits, or best, like I said, and this is the time to eat plenty of sugar too, like our ancestors would have done. So we're looking at jarred jams and things like that, and preserves. So that's about it. I will do these videos every month with some updates, and I will also be filming body updates because I'm making a video about the full year of eating only in-season foods. And there are changes to the body in this time too, and also it's going to be a little experiment to see exactly how healthy this diet would be. So I'm measuring my blood and all the levels and vitamins in there, and also taking snapshots of my body and seeing how that looks, and I'll make a big compilation at the end of the year when we've gone through the whole thing. So that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed. Let us know what you guys are eating this month, any special recipes, anything that your ancestors like to do, let us all know.